the world stopped. In an instant, the hustle and bustle of daily life came to a standstill. People paused in their tracks, their faces reflecting a mix of disbelief and sorrow. It was as if time itself had frozen, capturing a moment of collective grief. News spread quickly through countless digital channels, smartphones, televisions, radios. The information age ensured that no corner of the globe was left untouched by the tragic news. Notifications pinged, screens lit up, and voices on the airwaves carried the somber message. In homes, offices, and public spaces, people gathered around their devices, united in their shared shock and sadness. Pope Francis, the people's pontiff, had died. His passing marked the end of an era, a chapter in the history of the Church that had been defined by his compassion, humility, and unwavering dedication to the marginalized. The news was not just a headline, it was a profound loss felt deeply by millions. An outpouring of grief from Buenos Aires to Manila stretched across the globe. In every corner of the world, people came together to mourn. Vigils were held, prayers were whispered, and candles were lit in memory of a man who had touched so many lives. The global community, regardless of faith or nationality, felt the weight of this loss. His warmth, his humility, his simple message of love had touched countless hearts. Pope Francis had been a beacon of hope and a symbol of unity. His teachings transcended religious boundaries, resonating with people from all walks of life. In his death, the world was reminded of the profound impact one individual can have on humanity. But in no place was the grief more profound than in Vatican City, where tens of thousands gathered in St. Peter's Square. The heart of the Catholic Church became a focal point for mourning. Pilgrims from around the world made their way to the Vatican, seeking solace and a sense of community in their shared sorrow. The mood was heavy, somber. The usually vibrant square was now a sea of solemn faces, each one reflecting the deep sense of loss. The overcast skies seemed to mirror the collective grief, casting a grey pall over the gathering. It was palpable, like the humidity before a summer thunderstorm. The air was thick with emotion, a tangible weight that pressed down on everyone present. Even the weather seemed to mourn, with dark clouds gathering and a distant rumble of thunder echoing the sorrow felt by the masses. A collective sense of loss hung in the air, as if the world itself were holding its breath. Every individual, whether they had known Pope Francis personally or had only admired him from afar, felt the same profound emptiness. It was a moment of global unity in grief, a shared silence that spoke volumes. The silence was broken only by the occasional sob, a muffled cry of grief echoing across the square. These sounds of sorrow were a testament to the deep emotional impact of Pope Francis's passing. In those quiet moments, the world mourned together, united in their loss and in their memories of a beloved pontiff. The heart of the Catholic Church, normally vibrant and bustling, seemed to stand still. St. Peter's Square, usually teeming with pilgrims and tourists, was now eerily silent. The vast expanse of cobblestones lay empty, a stark reminder of the gravity of the moment. The absence of the usual throngs of people, the lack of chatter and movement, created an almost surreal atmosphere. It was as if the very air was holding its breath, waiting in solemn anticipation. The Vatican, a place accustomed to the pomp and ceremony of faith, was now cloaked in the somber hues of mourning. The grand architecture, which usually stood as a beacon of hope and faith, now seemed to bow under the weight of sorrow. Dark clouds loomed overhead, casting a shadow over the sacred grounds. The entire city seemed to be in mourning, reflecting the collective grief of millions around the world. The usual vibrancy of the Vatican was replaced with a profound stillness, a silence that spoke volumes. Black banners adorned the ancient stone walls, a stark contrast to the colorful vestments usually on display. These banners, fluttering gently in the breeze, were a visual representation of the mourning that enveloped the Vatican. They served as a poignant reminder of the loss that had befallen the Catholic community. The contrast between the somber black and the usual vibrant colors was striking, emphasizing the depth of the sorrow felt by all. Inside, beneath the soaring Michelangelo dome, lay the simple wooden coffin of Pope Francis. The grandeur of the basilica, with its intricate designs and majestic architecture, seemed to fade into the background. All eyes were drawn to the humble coffin, a symbol of the Pope's modesty and humility. The contrast between the opulence of the surroundings and the simplicity of the coffin was a powerful testament to the life and values of Pope Francis. No ornate gold or silver adorned it, a final testament to the humility of the man who had chosen to be known as Il Papa della Gente, the people's pope. The plain wooden coffin stood as a reflection of his life and teachings, emphasizing simplicity, humility, and a deep connection with the common people. It was a fitting tribute to a man who had dedicated his life to serving others, always putting the needs of the people above his own. A steady stream of mourners filed past, paying their respects to the spiritual leader who had touched their lives. People from all walks of life, from different corners of the world, came together to honor the memory of Pope Francis. Their faces reflected a mix of sorrow and gratitude, a testament to the profound impact he had on their lives. The line of mourners seemed endless, a silent tribute to a man who had been a beacon of hope and compassion. Each person in their own way expressed their love and respect for the Pope, creating a tapestry of shared grief and remembrance. From every corner of the globe they came, pilgrims and prelates, nuns and noblemen, families and the faithful. They traveled from distant lands, crossing oceans and continents, driven by a shared sense of loss and a deep need to be part of this historic moment. The air was thick with a palpable sense of unity, as if the collective heartbeat of humanity had converged in this sacred space, all united in grief, their sorrow transcending language, culture, and even faith. It was a rare sight to behold, a tapestry of humanity woven together by threads of sorrow and hope. Faces from every walk of life, every corner of the earth stood shoulder to shoulder, their differences dissolving in the shared experience of mourning. The silence was profound, yet it spoke volumes, a universal language of loss and love. For Pope Francis had spoken not only to Catholics but to the world, urging peace, compassion and care for the poor and the planet. His words had resonated far beyond the walls of the Vatican, touching hearts and minds across the globe. He had become a beacon of hope in troubled times, a voice for the voiceless and a champion for the downtrodden. His message was clear. In our shared humanity, we must find the strength to care for one another and for our common home. The world watched and waited, holding its breath as a lone figure approached the microphone. The anticipation was almost tangible, a collective pause as millions tuned in, hoping for words that might offer solace and direction. The figure moved with a solemn grace, each step echoing the weight of the moment. It was a scene that would be etched into the memories of all who witnessed it, a defining moment in a time of great uncertainty. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, the Filipino Archbishop of Manila, a close friend and confidant of Pope Francis, stepped forward. Known for his humility and deep compassion, Cardinal Tagle had long been a beloved figure within the Church and beyond. His presence at the microphone was a testament to the close bond he shared with Pope Francis, a bond forged through years of shared mission and mutual respect. As he began to speak, his voice carried the weight of his own grief, but also a profound sense of hope and resilience. His face, normally lit by a warm smile, was etched with sorrow. The lines of his face seemed deeper, carved by the weight of the moment and the loss of a dear friend. Yet even in his sorrow there was a strength, a quiet determination to carry forward the legacy of compassion and love that Pope Francis had championed. His expression was a mirror of the collective grief felt by the multitude gathered before him. His eyes, usually bright and full of hope, were red and filled with tears. They reflected the pain of loss, but also the enduring spirit of faith and hope. In those tear-filled eyes, one could see the story of a man who had dedicated his life to serving others, a man who now stood as a pillar of strength in a time of great sorrow. His tears were not just for his own loss, but for the loss felt by millions around the world, a testament to the deep and abiding connection that bound them all together. He began to speak, his voice thick with emotion. "Brothers and sisters in Christ," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "we gather here today, united in grief, yet also in gratitude." He spoke of the man he had known, not just as a pope, but as a friend, a mentor, a brother. He was not just a father to the Church, Cardinal Tagle continued, his voice cracking. He was my father in spirit. He paused, overcome with emotion, and the vast crowd seemed to share his grief. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. He taught me so much, he said, about humility, about compassion, about the boundless love of God. Legacy of humility, legacy of love. Cardinal Tagle spoke of Pope Francis's many accomplishments, his tireless work for peace, his unwavering defense of the poor and marginalized, his passionate pleas for the protection of our planet. He recalled Pope Francis's words, "Let us be protectors of creation, protectors of God's plan inscribed in nature, protectors of one another and of the environment." He reminded the world that Pope Francis had lived what he preached, always choosing simplicity over extravagance, humility over pride. He had washed the feet of prisoners, embraced the sick and suffering, and reached out to those on the margins of society. Echoes of Fratelli, Tutti. Cardinal Tagle's voice grew stronger as he spoke of his friend's legacy, a legacy that went far beyond the walls of the Vatican. It was a legacy etched in the hearts of millions who had been touched by his warmth, his humility, his unwavering belief in the goodness of humanity. He called us to be Fratelli Tutti, brothers and sisters all, Cardinal Tagle said, his voice echoing across the square. He reminded us that we are all part of one human family regardless of our differences. He challenged the world to honor Pope Francis's memory by living his message of love, compassion, and fraternity. A new dawn over St. Peter's. As Cardinal Tagle concluded his eulogy, a ray of sunlight broke through the clouds, bathing St. Peter's Square in a warm, golden glow. It seemed a fitting tribute to the man who had brought so much light into the world. "With trembling voice I carry forward his dream," Cardinal Tagle said, his voice strong and steady now, not as a successor, but as a son. He paused, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. "Let us move forward together," he said, "in hope, in faith, and in love. Continuing the journey together." The world listened, hearts heavy with grief, yet also lifted by the hope in Cardinal Tagle's words. Pope Francis was gone, but his message, his spirit, his love for humanity would live on. In the days that followed, tributes poured in from world leaders, religious figures, and ordinary people whose lives had been touched by Pope Francis. His message of compassion, his call for peace, his unwavering belief in the power of love resonated across the globe. Francis among the saints, the bells of St. Peter's tolled, a solemn yet hopeful sound, marking the end of an era, but also the beginning of a new chapter in the life of the Church. The world mourned the loss of a great man, a man of God who had lived a life of service, humility, and love. But in the midst of grief, there was also hope. The hope that Pope Francis's legacy would continue to inspire, to challenge, and to transform the world. The hope that his dream of a more just, more compassionate, more loving world would one day be realized. Please subscribe to our channel History Voyage for more insightful videos and intriguing content.